All right, here we go. We're off of an interesting week, a 3-0 week by myself. I got super lucky in a couple games, and Fuhrmy, 2 tough ones back to back. Talk to us here, Fuhrmy. Tell me what's going through your head.
All right, so I got to get back on the winning stride here. So we're both 13-11 for the year through week 8. I'm going to stay all over the SEC this week. I had one no-doubter last week, but the other 2 I came up shorthanded. So hoping to turn it around.
You know, these things happen. You know, I mean, as much as I'd like to brag, I'm very honest with the fact that I got pretty lucky for me. You know, I had a game go to overtime, shouldn't even been in there. Miami of Ohio came in late. There was a score in the second quarter at the half-yard line that Army did not come through on, which was absurd. So that would have probably made that 31-24-ish, like I thought, maybe even 31-21. But it didn't come through. Texas Tech wasn't really putting up the points like I thought. You know, I said 41-17. I said this game goes over 44-17, somewhere in there, and it took a Kansas score late. And then I just had the right read on the Memphis game, but I didn't predict the game right. You know, I thought it was going to be a boat race, but I didn't think it was going to get out of control. And these things happen. You know, you had Memphis. I mean, it was 48-20 at halftime. That one's blown out the door. You were right on LSU under. That game slowed down, and they're tough to play at home. Your last game has slipped my mind. You had Kentucky. Correct?
Yep. They lost. They won by 7, but didn't cover.
Right. So, You know, it's interesting that you're going back to the well here with your first pick with Kentucky. And let's start picking the brain here, Fuhrmy. I want to know what's going on here.
All right. So, I mean, really, I do like Kentucky this week. They're 6-1 on the year. Only loss was against, was it A&M, Texas A&M?
Yes.
And, yep, 2 weeks ago. And this week they're at Missouri, getting 7.5, which I think is remarkable for the 12th ranked Wildcats. So I like Kentucky to lean on Benny Snell as they have all year. I don't think Missouri's going to be able to slow down the running game. The biggest question mark is, can Kentucky score at the pace Missouri does? Because you know they can fill it up. But
that's a big question. That is a really big question.
It is, and I know Stoops said it's pretty much all hands on deck to stop the pass this week. So that's gonna determine the game. But I'm gonna take Kentucky plus 7.5. I like that little hook there. It definitely could be they could lose by 7 and I still walk away with a winner. So I'm gonna hope that half point helps me out.
Sorry, I'm moving my desk around here. If anyone hears that in the background. You know, that's an interesting pick for me. You know, I'm curious as to what makes you want to really go back. I know you're confident in the run game. We've seen what Missouri can do on offense. They can put it up. And to be honest with you, they weren't relative to their standards. They haven't been pretty bad on defense. Is this a mismatch across the board? Like, do you just think that Kentucky gets started early and, you know, does their game, gets a couple defensive stops? And what happens if they don't?
Well, I mean, I think Kentucky's one of those teams that can't throw the ball, right? Terry Wilson has not been good through the air, so it's one of those games where if they don't establish the run and it's successful, they're probably going to be in bad shape right off the bat. Because I just don't think their offense is going to be able to score at the capacity that Locke can. But I'm banking on the running game being effective. I think they're the league's third best run offense. And again, we've talked previously, I think Benny Snell's one of the best and most underrated players in the SEC. So I know they're going to lean on him. It's just a matter of fact if he can move the ball against Missouri.
I can understand that. I don't think that's a bad pick. You know, I was kind of looking at, you know, who's been consistent and who hasn't been as well, and who does what well. And I you know me, I'm looking at overs, and I think the first game that I'm going to take is a noon game. It's Louisville Wake Forest. I really like this over in the game. Opened at 64, sitting at 65 right now. Wake Forest can move the ball. They have fantastic tempo. They get up and down the field. Their defense is not that good. And this game's at Louisville. I just have a feeling that Louisville has been kind of just thrown off. You know what I mean? Everyone's kind of dismissed them, and rightfully so. But I just think this is a great opportunity I look for boat races, and I think that Wake Forest is going to put one up here. And I'm pretty confident about that. And then I think Louisville is going to score enough, maybe 21, maybe 24. And I think Wake Forest undoubtedly makes up the difference. I'm going to keep that one pretty simple because Louisville is the favorite in that. Now, do I trust Wake Forest to win the game based on that prediction? My answer to that would be yes. But just in case Louisville truly lights up the scoreboard, I'm going to be conservative and go on the over. But you are not going conservative here again with your next pick. You're taking another road favorite. What's going on here?
All right, so it's actually a road dog, but
a road dog. I'm sorry, a road dog. I'm sorry.
You're right, but it's very slight. It's almost even money. So I'm going to take Texas A&M plus 1.5 on the road at Mississippi State. Like I said, it's only 1.5. So, and the only downside is the night game. But I think Texas A&M still has a lot to battle for. They lost to Alabama and Clemson, are their only two losses. They're 5-2 on the year. Mississippi State, as we've talked about, they lost 3 of their last 4. And we've talked about this multiple times throughout the year. I'm not a big fan of Nick Fitzgerald. He's definitely a one-dimensional quarterback, and he's very successful running the ball. But I think A&M's defense can hold him. Mississippi State's defense has been good recently, but I think A&M wins a tight one, and it only needs to be by a field goal for me to cash in here. So I'm going to lean on Jimbo Fisher's Aggies in this one.
I can't see Mississippi State winning this game. I really can't, Fuhrmy.
Me neither.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
They're to me, they're too one-dimensional, and A&M has a very good defense. I mean, that's probably the best of their team. That's, I would say, their team strength. And Kellen Mond is just getting better and better. I mean, he's a true sophomore, if I recall, and he's really matured a lot this year. So I just think the Aggies are going to be a little too much for Mississippi State and their one-dimensional offense. So
I mean, this is a Texas A&M team that hung with Clemson.
Absolutely, they had a chance to win on the last possession. Yep.
I don't understand this number at all. I really don't. And so I'm with you the whole way. I think that this is. I think this is. Oh, there's the cat. I think this is a play on Texas A&M. I do agree with you. Again, in my modest approach of selling teams and then buying them back, I don't play a lot of Big Ten. I think anyone that knows me knows that I can't stand Penn State and everything about Penn State. But Iowa's pretty good, and I think Penn State is better than they've shown. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's. I mean, Penn State's 5-2, so they're not horrible. They lost at home. They lost to Ohio State and Michigan State in home games back to back. Oh well, they had a bye week, but essentially back to back games. I can't see this home crowd not being lit up right now. You know what I mean? Like, if there's one thing about Penn State people, it's that they're cultish no matter what is happening to their team, regardless of on or off the field. I think the Nittany Lions are struggling right now, and I think this is a great opportunity for them to light up the scoreboard. I think Iowa has been underrated on offense. I think people still think that this is the same offense as before. Even looking at the past number, they beat Maryland 23-0, but I think they were looking for this Penn State game. They put up 40-42 in Minnesota, Indiana. They lost to Wisconsin, but then 38 the week before, Iowa State's a tough game, and then they opened with 33. That's not bad. That's a lot of points for a Big Ten team. Okay, and I think these shifts are happening, and I've heard this on other podcasts as well too, that they've picked up the pace, that they're starting to hit their wide receivers. They're passing on first down. This total is very low. It's at 52. Man, once again, if I'm sitting even close to 24-24 at some point in the fourth quarter, I've got to feel good about my bet. I have to. I have to think that there's at least a touchdown or potentially 2 field goals somewhere in there. So I think that McSorley has a big game. Sanders had a huge game against Michigan State and then just fell apart, I believe, in the second half. Let me see what his total was. Miles Sanders had He had 162 yards, and he was averaging 9.5 yards a carry. That's insane. I have to believe that the Nittany Lions come back here. I don't know whether or not they cover because I think that Iowa's good, but I think that this game is going over. And you'll have to excuse. Yes, go ahead.
Got a question. What do you think about the weather? I heard it's going to be sloppy, potentially.
I was looking at a couple of the forecasts this past week, and I think it's cold. I mean, I know Beaver Stadium's grass. From what I can see, at least, I see a little bit of rain. I can understand that, but you know what? It's not the rain that bothers me. It's the wind, and I just don't think it's going to be that much of a factor. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong on this one. But I just think that Penn State needs this game. Rain, wind, snow, tornado, earthquake. They need to impress their home crowd. I don't think they're going to feel the support if they come out of this 17-10. And some people may say, well, that's a win. I don't think that's these people's expectations. That's just not what I'm hearing from the people that I'm connected to that are Penn State fans. They want points. They want fast-paced offense. This is as much an audition for the Penn State football team as it is James Franklin. I think it's hilarious how everyone's like, oh, he's a great recruiter. Oh, he's this, but he's not a great coach. It's like, well, pick one. You know what I mean? Like, this dude took you to the Rose Bowl 2 years in a row. And yeah, you had Saquon Barkley. Yes, I understand that. But still, I mean, you've got to string it all together. So something's amiss. And I think that Penn State fixes it. I think Franklin's smart enough to handle it. I think regardless of the weather, this game will be up and down the field. It will be moving. It may be sloppy, but so is the scoreboard. Give me over 52 on that, Fuhrmy.
All righty.
So, what are you feeling? We're actually moving pretty well here. Who knows? People may like our new style, our new approach here, Fuhrmy. What are you feeling in this last game coming up?
All right. So, two teams coming off a bye week in the SEC. So I'm going to take a page out of your book and go over. I'm over with the Florida Gators and the Georgia Bulldogs, world's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville Stadium. So, the reason both teams are obviously they have good defenses. I mean, that goes unsaid, but I like them both off a bye. It's a huge game in the SEC East. I'm talking like this may decide the East champ. Outside of Kentucky, who's the other team that's in the mix, and Florida lost to Kentucky, and I don't think Georgia played Kentucky yet. So I think that the winner of this, honestly, at the end of the season is going to be the SEC East winner. So I think both teams have as much to play for in this game that they're going to have to play for in conference all year. So I just think if you look at Georgia's last couple games, they're coming off a big loss to LSU where they lost by 20. Outside of that, they scored 41, 38, 43, 49 in their previous four games. Florida's been filling it up for them. 37-27, a low-scoring game against Mississippi State, but they hung 47 and 48 on the two prior games. Then they've won 5 in a row. So I just think the offenses are starting to click. I know the defenses are talented, but I'm going to take an over a 52. And I think this could be lopsided either way. That's sort of why I'm shying away from picking it one side or the other. So I'm going to sort of hedge my bet and go with the over.
I mean, you're like me on this. You're sitting at 31-21 and you're just hoping for a score. That's not unreasonable. That's really not unreasonable at all.
Yep. Yeah, and I think, both teams are talented on both sides of the ball. I mean, this is a top 10 matchup. So, they have big play abilities. This game could get out and be a high-scoring game out of the gate, or it could also be, 6-3 at the end of the first quarter, 7-3 at the end of the first.
I think that's a good point. I was just gonna emphasize that point that this will go one way or the other, and you're gonna know early how this game's looking. You know what I mean? By halftime, you're gonna have a pretty good read. If you're sitting at 14-10 or 17-14 at halftime, you're sitting there going, "I think I've got this one in the bag here. I think they're gonna keep it going."
Yep. Yeah, and I hate to say, this game could be 6-3 at the half as well.
Right.
And then you're like, something big needs to happen quick.
Something big.
Yeah, but I'm going to roll the dice. I like the over. I think this is one of the biggest games in the SEC all year from a conference standpoint, just given where they're sitting at here in week 9. Week 8. Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, it's flying by. The one question I have down there is that the biggest question I could have is: have you ever actually been to the world's largest cocktail party?
No, and I think next year's the year.
There
I
you
think
go.
this needs to happen.
I respect that, and I you know me, I love overs. I love cheering for points. We went to the Navy game last week. We took over in the first half, and Navy looked good, and and I just try to follow a specific set of teams, and someone that really sticks out to me right now is UNLV. I mean, they're bad, but they just keep putting up points. They had one crap game against Arkansas State, but it was pouring down rain and the wind was horrible. I like Lexington Thomas. They have this quarterback now that was in for Armani Rogers. His name's Max Gilliam. He's been playing well. They're going against San Jose State. And a lot of people have been buying into San Jose State. They've had a couple good games lately. Now, granted, they're 0-7. So how are they having good games? Well, they lost 16-13 to San Diego State. They got smoked by Army, but I mean, a lot of people have this year because they're pretty good. They lost a tight one to Colorado State. They lost a tight one to Hawaii. They hung in there with Iowa. Oregon. I think that actually San Jose State actually has a legitimate shot to win this game. It's only a 2-point line right now. 3-point line, and it's in favor of San Jose State. But the total's at 59.5. I got it. I paid some juice on it to get it at 59. I love it. I absolutely and totally love it. I think San Jose State comes out, and I think they come out firing because they're going to smell weakness on this defense. And I think UNLV is going to do exactly what they're going to do. Everything they can to put points on the board, and hopefully they either have A, the last possession, or B, two possessions worth of points on the board so that they can just quit and hope for an onside kick to get the game and just hold on to it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, in my opinion. So I'm taking it over at 6 o'clock, San Jose State and UNLV. Let me recap here, and then I kind of want to get into one final point here. Fuhrmy's going to be riding on Kentucky -7.5. He's going to be taking Texas A&M -1.5. And he's going to be taking over 52 for Florida and Georgia. And then I am on the over 52 for Penn State. I am on the over 65 for Wake Forest, Florida State. And then I am on the over 59 for San Jose State and UNLV. Question, Fuhrmy, before any other games that we may be interested in. Something that any gambler knows is that you have to have good bankroll management, and you have to protect yourself throughout the course of the year. It's the long game, as they say. You're on a great hot streak. You had 2 bad weeks in a row. It happens. I had 2 that were awful right in the middle, trying to fight back. We're both sitting at 13-11 right now. Any recommendations for people out there, taking bets or looking at it, maybe playing a little bit of yours, a little bit of mine, peace of mind as far as money management is concerned? I know you're pretty good at this when we go and gamble in the casino, so I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on this as far as betting is concerned.
Not too much. I mean, this late in the year, I think it gets tougher, believe it or not, so I'd stay away from parlays if you can. I think it's a little bit easier earlier in the year when teams start separating themselves and really setting the tone. So I would just stay away from parlays and just follow your heart with games you like. That's sort of my logic at this point in the season.
My biggest thing is stay within your role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever you bet, if you're a $50 ham and egg better, fine. If you're a $20 better, fine. You lose 3 in a row, whatever. My cap is always 3 in a row. Whether I'm at roulette, craps, 3-card poker, or I'm betting, if I lose 3, I'm done. I'm not chasing. So, if you guys are following our picks, if you took all of them, you're sitting at 26 and 22. You've got a little profit in your pocket. Call it a day. Continue to play with us if you can. If not, if you're taking your own stuff or taking 1 or 2 of ours, don't be mad when they lose and don't be too ecstatic when they win. Just kind of ride it out and enjoy the long game. It's fun, and that's what we're looking for. You have any other final games here for me for the week?
I'll give you 3 quick hitters. I like Michigan State. So I think they're -2 right now is where it's sitting. I think Purdue's, and they're at home. Purdue's coming off their biggest win of the year against Ohio State. I like Michigan State to cover. Purdue I think, is going to come out flat off of that big high.
I can't believe that line is what it is. That is such an overreaction to Purdue. It's not even funny.
I think Michigan State's good, man.
They're very
they're
good.
They're not appealing. I know Purdue is the high-flying offense and they can score quick, but I think Michigan State is one of those teams that can scheme you into trouble.
I like it.
Yeah, so I like Michigan State. I'm really intrigued by the South Florida at Houston game. I'd take South Florida with 7.5. They're 7-0 for a reason. I know they haven't played a lot of talent yet, but give me 7.5 for South Florida. And then your midshipmen at home getting 24.5. Against Notre Dame, it's hard for me not to take as good of ball control that they have. So give me those points, and I'm just going to hope they ride them out.
Well, there's a thing about that home game. It's not actually in Annapolis. It's in San Diego.
Oh, gotcha. That explains it.
So it's technically a neutral site game. But I have heard some other people say that they like the mids getting 24.5. You know what I mean? To kind of slow it down. Notre Dame does not impress me. And to be honest with you, I thought Navy played fantastic against Houston. What happened is that Houston can throw the ball, and they move with speed. Notre Dame does not. And for those of us playing the home game, Notre Dame is playing right now potentially to be in the national championship. Like, if they win out, this is it. I think Navy knows deep down in their heart that that Army is going to beat Air Force this next upcoming weekend. It's not this weekend because Army plays Eastern Michigan. It's the weekend after next. I think the mids are in trouble against Army again. The pendulum has swung. This is Navy's national championship game. I'm not saying that they don't play their hearts and their asses off in the Army-Navy game. I'm just saying everyone hates Notre Dame. And so I'm telling you right now, I agree with you, Fuhrmy. I think this is a game where they're off the radar. They're not expected to do anything, and they could hang tight if they get their offense rolling. But I'll tell you this much: their secondary is atrocious. It's awful. Oh my God.
Yeah, Notre Dame does throw the ball a lot more effectively since they made the QB switch. The book. So
yeah.
See what happens.
My off the board game to watch this week is UMass and UConn. I took that over for South Florida and UConn late on Saturday, and it pushed. And it's because UConn went for 2 and missed the extra point, and so it landed 38-30 instead of 38-31. But I shouldn't have ever been in that game anyways. But I think this is a class. If you look at the numbers, everyone's like, "Oh, well, UConn has to regress back. They can't be this awful all the time." I'm like, "No, wait a second." And UMass, I think Ford, their starting quarterback, is out, but I heard that they're putting in a quarterback that's got a lot of good experience. This under has dropped almost 10 points. It's like went from 74.5 down to 65.5. I want to see how far this thing will drop, and then I just want to kind of keep an eye on it. I want to watch this game. I don't want to bet it, but you know what I take anyways. If I was going to pick one, I would take the over on this. So, Fuhrmy.
Those two teams. Listen to this. That UMass is 298th defensively in giving up points against. UConn is 303rd in college football.
It's atrocious. Is there even that many teams?
I mean, they have to be including FCS teams.
Oh, wow.
That's how bad they are.
Oh, they're horrible. I mean, UConn's defense is atrocious. I mean, I told you, they gave up something like 9.7 yards per play for the first 7 games. I mean, it was something fierce. And UMass is horrible. I think UMass is in disarray a little bit right now because of their coach. I thought they would play a little bit better. I was surprised. I did see that the UMass did cover in the first half, but again, what did I tell you? They blow it in the second half. And Coastal Carolina made their changes, and they're pretty good. I kind of want to watch that Coastal Georgia State game as well. I'm interested and intrigued by that. But we'll see. For so many games that I didn't like this week to bet on, there's a lot of games that I want to watch. I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's a pretty good slate of games this weekend. And then just upset alert for this evening. App State's down 20 in the fourth.
Love it. I texted my friend. They asked me what I like tonight, and I have the text messages to vouch for it. I like Georgia Southern. I really like Georgia Southern. They're good. App State, that was a perfect sell game on App State. And I know, here we go, hindsight's 2020. No, that was such a good sell game. They became ranked. They're away. They lost their starting running back in Jalen Rose or whatever his name is. I can't think of it off the top of my head right now because I'm not good like that. I'm telling you, this was a perfect. Georgia Southern was getting 11.5 points. I just didn't pull the trigger. You know who I took? I took that over for Georgia State and Troy on Tuesday, and they were 3 points away by halftime, and it took them till 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter to finally put that sealer away. Like, they went the whole third quarter and almost the whole fourth quarter without scoring a point. Like, I was bashing my face off the wall. It was 52.
They only covered by 3.5.
I know, it was insane. It was 30. It was 31 to 17. I'm sitting there going, someone get in the end zone. Like, this is insane. And it was like I stayed up so late to watch that game. I was so tired on Wednesday because I was like watching it. I'm like, will they just get in the end zone? But again, you're when you're betting the Sun Belt, you're taking chances like that. So that's why you got to be careful on how much you put on that. I wouldn't bet my whole bankroll on a Sun Belt game, but I will bet a part of it. Fuhrmy, hang on here for a second. We'll close out and then I'll talk to you on the phone. All right.
All right, bud.
Hey, listen, we're sitting, like I said, we're both sitting at 13-11, and this is some of the fun of the season. This is where we got to get in, dig in, do a little bit more handicapping ourselves, kind of get in there, look at some more numbers, look at some game matchups, weather, the whole 9 yards. So we're going to keep getting after it. And just so you know, in a couple weeks here, college basketball is going to start up. Fuhrmy and I are going to talk about some college b-ball as well and get ready for our big March Madness Calcutta. So everyone, please enjoy the weekend. If you got a Halloween party, dress up as a winner. Until next week, y'all have a good one, and we will talk to you soon.